Richard, thank you for agreeing to do this host-to-host interview. We're going to try something a little different. Instead of another horror host show, you are almost a co-host of sorts at times for Midnight Monster Movies with Dr. Bob. And so we figured we would let the fans know a little bit more about Richard Hoagland, the person behind Rick Edison. So now, Richard, you actually started, unofficially, basically, in our very first show, February back in 2012, when we did Monster Phantom Lake. Because we started a gimmick early on. We wanted to have a monster, so we made a $8 version of the Monster Phantom Lake costume. Had Richard wear it and jump out at the audience during the appropriate scene. So when that happened all those years ago, do you think you would still be doing this show?
I did not. I didn't think that far ahead. Still don't. And I just, saw a car going by and they said, "You want to ride?" And I said, well, "Okay, sure. Where are you going?" "We don't know." "Okay, well, sounds like a good destination." So, however many years later, here we are, still in the car. A lot of destinations, a lot of changes.
Yep, lots of changes.
A lot of potholes.
We outlasted our original theater there.
Outlasted 3.5 theaters.
Well, I meant in that the
Oh yeah, well,
outlasted as in the Grandview that we knew got closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that we started at is no more.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. The Grandview Theater is dead. Long live the Grandview Theater.
Actually, now it's a bar that has a movie screen, but hey, semantics.
Yeah, so. And so you started with that, and then you were in Igor, I think the next month, maybe. I think we had you be no, I think in 2 months after that we had you be in Igor.
I was the first.
You were the first of the Igors. Actually, no, I think it was the next month, because we started February. March was the time change, and that was, we had you do the first of our time travel gimmicks was with Richard. And that was back when we shared the theater with a shadow cast called The Midnight Shift. And this was back when, we were big on trying to get synergy with other things going on at the theaters that we were at. We still are big on it. We just don't normally get a chance to do it because bad planning on other people's parts on that. We offer, and then
We always have good planning.
Or at least it makes it look like it. So, but we had a time travel gimmick done with the Midnight Shift. We recorded Richard at their show the month before, and in the 2 segments we recorded, one was at that show the month before our show, and then the mocked it up to be the next month's show, which was the week after our show or something like that. So that way, in the course of that second show, he reported in from the past and the future with dire warnings from the future.
And I had that big, heavy corduroy monk robe that I'd gotten from a friend from the Renaissance Festival.
Yeah.
We used it for the Igor costume, and of course, when Igor died his routinely death.
When Richard died, the first Igor death ever.
Yes, the first Igor death. They tried to get the Igor off stage immediately after, and that's when we found out that the costume went clear down past the feet, and it was awful hard to move a dead body that couldn't move his feet.
Yeah. So from that point on, we kind of learned, let's just let dead Igors lie until till the lights go off. So
And then they can mysteriously disappear.
then we have the cleaning crew come get them.
Strangely enough, there are more Igors.
Yes.
That's another story.
But then a few months down the road from there, we approached you about being a villain.
And I'm a pro wrestling fan, so I have no problems being as they say, a heel.
Yep.
And I've always been, well, since I joined up here and met these people, I found out that I have a bit of a stage bug. I don't mind at all. I seem to enjoy getting up in front of the stage and making people laugh and entertain them.
Well, and also, while we started off with Rick Edison as a little more evil and more villainous, the thing is Richard is not evil. He's not villainous. And we could have more fun with him as a frenemy kind of, more of, now this predated this in Doctor Who, but more of the Missy type of character. Richard is more like Missy, where it's sometimes evil, sometimes friendly, whichever way the winds blow.
You can't mess with Dr. Bob, but I can.
Yeah. So.
And I also, when you approached me about it, you said, you can do what you want with this character. You can make him, and work up a backstory and whatever. And I, honestly, it had in my mind, he is, Dr. Edison is an awful lot of Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. There's an awful lot of Dr. Doofenshmirtz in there, and I tried to work him in as much as I could. That's why Dr. Edison often had goofy times, and he would have the big red button that blows the self-destructs. He always had to put something like that in there. Something would always screw up Dr. Edison's plans, except for that one plan that always succeeded.
No, really? Which plan was that?
I recall that there was a long string of Igor deaths, and most were attributed to a certain frenemy.
Well, you weren't a frenemy at that point. You were still the villain of the story, trying to kill all those, kill everyone, kill Igors and all that. However,
we even came up with a storyline about why he was killing Igors, but I digress.
And then we went through the clone saga, get to kill all those other clones and things like that.
I was so lonely after he killed all the clones. So lonely.
Send in the clones. There ought to be clones.
There's only one clone left, and Dr. Edison was it.
Now,
that we know of.
Well, since this is for the fan club, we can let them know future down the road story, and then this would be a while since we've had to
restructure.
We've had to restructure since moving to the Dwight Fry Underground Cinema, and since the Dwight Fry is moving this spring to the Sprawl,
new refurbished location.
Yeah, the Sprawl Library. Once that happens, then we have to decide whether we are continuing on with pre-recorded, like we were doing on the smaller version of the Dwight, or whether we go back to live in front of the theater, in front of the audience. There's pros and cons for both of them, but the reason why we're bringing this up is one of the storylines that we've had is, how the current Rick Edison is the last of the clone sagas. Well, we were talking about, at some point, having the original Rick Edison show back up.
Dr. Rick Edison.
Honorary.
Still counts.
And
still smarter than Tesla. Wahaha.
Anyway, Rick, the original Rick, when he shows up, is going to be more villainous. It's because he hasn't had all of this backstory with Dr. Bob. He's been his own, off on his own thing. So he's going to show up and be like, what the hell's all this?
He's going to be more Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah. So we're holding on to that storyline for when we need Richard to go evil again, and we've got a few things we want to do before we get to that point. Another thing is, since you joined the cast, you've got to go off on these other adventures and meet new people. You know, go up to Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
How's that been? How have you liked going up to Minnesota?
Well, except for the Minnesota record snowstorm at the last time we went up there as a group, it was great fun. To all my Minnesota friends up there, I love you all. Yes, all of you. All of my Minnesota friends that I have made and are now on my Facebook page. We have great fun talking to each other, and before Facebook, before this, I would never have met such great people as, dear God, no, James Norgard, the Mims, all 172 of them, Mark Hader.
The Mim Kaiser clan.
The Mim Kaiser clan, yes. Mr. Hader and Ms. Rhubarb. Just wonderful people that, if it wasn't for the weather, I wouldn't mind living in Minnesota up there, but it gets a bit cold. And we did meet the Mummy and the Monkey. Lovely woman. Handsome primate. Very nice people, and we meet them at several conventions where we crisscross paths.
Mm-hmm.
Who else did I get to meet? I got to meet very briefly, I think. No, I never did get to meet the original. He was the original guy that hosted for MIM.
Cryptosis.
Cryptosis. Never got to meet Cryptosis in person. But felt like I have because I've seen a lot of stuff with the MIMs. But, I've gotten to go to Cleveland and Pittsburgh and other places. And it got me out of my shell. And if people think I didn't know it before they met me here, they would never know that I was not really that extroverted before. I was just loud.
And now he gets to travel the country and going to half-price books everywhere. Because if you do not know, Richard has a sickness. The only cure is more half-price books.
I really need to stop buying so many books and comic books. And oh, look, another book sale. And that's happening again this weekend because Friday night I'll be going to another sale. And I'll be shopping at a place where he's going to have 200 boxes of comics at $1 a piece, and the comics, not the boxes. And I'll be spending every bit of my free time that night there. Sick. It's a sickness. But yeah, that's just me. That's what I get to get. That's what I got into. I like reading material. I like media. I love movies, and that's why I enjoyed doing this. I got to meet several independent filmmakers. Some made a better impression than others. Some made better movies than others. Some have entirely different methods than others.
Yep.
Mimsy, I'm sorry, Mr. Mim. You're right now. You're at the top of the heap, my independent filmmaker. So I love you. I love what you do, and I've watched every one of your movies. And yes, I have enjoyed every one of your movies. Josh, I've watched several of your movies. And Michael, but I have seen all the ones that you have made so far, and despite the fact that they're a little more short, and then I'm trying to be nice and still be critical, but I can't. So Michael's movies have to be seen to be disbelieved. Killer Ticks from Outer Space,
Vampire Ticks from
Outer Space, and the Cursed series. They are entertaining. They will make you laugh. You could not feed a normal movie production for a day on the budget that he used.
Yeah.
But he made the movies, and they were entertaining. So, props for that.
I know next week we will be starting in VR another one of Michael Butt's movies. Richard doesn't take part in the VR series because one, they have to have a good internet connection.
Don't have that.
And two, you need to have a little bit more technical savvy than what Richard is used to.
There's a reason my nickname in the technical world is Mongo.
Yeah. But we will be showing The Man with the Golden Hand in VR, and that is one of Michael Butt's earlier works, rougher works. But
Rougher than Vampire Chicks?
yeah, but
That's the name of the director.
here's the thing. I was watching through it last night to figure out where to break the points and all that. I'd still rather watch Man with the Golden Hand over Absolute Zombies that we had to just watch for Wild Eye Reactions.
I'd rather have explosive diarrhea than watch the Absolute Zombies again.
Yeah, that's another thing. Richard's gotten to see some interesting movies.
I am probably been involved in more of the Wild Eye Reactions than any non-Gilbert out there, because I enjoy these types of movies. I am rather easy to please, and if it's bad, I have a reputation as being a snarkster, and I can at least add some humor. That's why they have the little bottle of Richard Deterrent handy when we do Wild Eye Reactions most of the time, because if I go all over the line, Richard Deterrent, and they spray me like I'm a cat. That's spray, not spay.
By the way, I do have to make a small apology to Richard a little bit. Richard has a favorite go-to joke when he's in restaurants. And that's when the waitress says, "Can I get you anything else?" And Richard's like, "A box full of fives."
A shoebox full of fives.
Yeah, things like that. And I know when last trip up to Minnesota with him, we told him to stop on that, because here's the thing, me and Mel, we'd heard it over and over and over again.
But they hadn't.
But that's why I'm apologizing to Richard. It's like, I do think that waitress was a little too busy to appreciate it. I think you need to save that for the ones that have nothing else to do. They might enjoy it a little bit more.
It's
but
either that, or when they say, "How are you?" I say psychotic, but the drugs should kick in soon.
that reminds me of one of our other cast members.
We have more cast. Oh yes, we do. We do indeed.
Yes. I would say we have a core 3 cast members. Me, Mel, Richard. That's the core 3. As harsh as this might sound, if we lost everyone but me, Mel, and Richard, we could still do a show. We could pull it off, no problem. Lose any one of those 3, including Richard, it's going to be rougher. I mean, I know we've done Richard-less shows in the Dwight the last 4 months there, but
those have been Bob-centric shows.
Yeah, those were more. Let's do the movie. Let's get the movie going on. It's kind of like what with the live stream going on until spring for the fan club. That is okay. Here's the movie. Here's a little bit around the movie to entertain you, but it's not a story-driven episode. But we need Richard for the story-driven stuff. So that's the core 3. Everyone else branching out from there. It's they all have specific tasks that they're there for. Whether it be building sets or props or running the website and the Twitter.
Have assets and talents that are vital to the show, but if we have to, we can work around it most of the time. And even to me, they can work around me. There was a couple times where I couldn't be there personally, so I came up earlier and shot some tape. And it's amazing because if you'd have told me 10 years ago that you're going to be doing a shadow cast and working with a horror show host and doing and actually filming video vignettes, I'd be going like, sure, right.
So let's check here. Out of the movies that you've seen from that we've done, what is one of your favorites?
Even though I had trouble remembering it the first time, after I've seen it, I saw it once at the Science Fi movie marathon, and I'd forgotten why I liked it until we showed it. Ink.
Yes.
That was a great one. Like I said earlier, for what they are and what he tries to do with them, Mims movies are always entertaining. Some more than others. Some are a little frustrating, but they're all very entertaining, and they're all well worth adding them to the DVD library. But yeah, the one that came to mind was Ink. We really enjoyed Neon Dead. And strangely enough, the first non-monster movie that we showed was a surprise hit because you asked people, should we show this? And it was a resounding yes from everybody at the Gateway. Cannibal the Musical.
Yep, Cannibal the Musical. It was a good one.
Spritwinkle.
Yep.
And yeah, that was, let us not forget. And props to, you'll be able to tell me the name of him because I blanked out on it. The Ghastly Loves of Johnny X.
Yes, Ghastly Love of Johnny X, Paul Bunnell.
Paul Bunnell. I loved that one too. So yeah, there's been a lot of them that just really stuck out in memory as being really great. There was a couple that I was like helping push because I just loved the title and then just found out later afterwards. That's all they had was a good idea for a title. Werewolf Bitches from Outer Space.
That's just what I was going to come to. Because that movie seems to be very divisive. You have some people absolutely loved that movie. Some of our fans loved that movie.
Who are they and why did they stop taking their meds?
Some hated it. I'm guessing I know which side Richard fell on.
When we say The Absolute Zombies that we watched the other day was the worst movie ever, let's put it this way. Werewolf Bitches from Outer Space, I would put right there in the bottom 5. It was just awful. And they tried to be nice about it. They tried to be fun with it. They tried to be, to go with the flow. It didn't work. For me, it didn't work at all. And most of the cast, I think, really did not like it.
Well, I know Abby loved it. But now, I will say for Werewolf Bitches from Outer Space, the thing that I think puts it above Absolute Zombies in my mind, the theme song was pretty catchy. I did like the theme song.
Yes.
And, of course, good old Lloyd Kaufman being in it. You gotta love
Didn't
Lloyd.
hurt.
This was...
And at least they didn't have the $20 video game special effects.
Yeah. This, yeah, you know, they had practical effects. Yes, they were cheesy, but they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Sometimes cheesy works for me, and sometimes... I love Return of the Killer Tomatoes. And there's so much cheese in that movie, you could use it for 20 pizzas.
Yep. Now, I'm not saying I'm rewatching Werewolf Bitches from Outer Space anytime soon.
I'm not.
But I give them credit for making a movie. And
I would have given it actually 2 stars. And as I mentioned this to other people later, I feel that if you have the commitment to actually make a movie, it should be at least 1 star just for making and completing a movie. That being said, I rated Absolute Zombies at a 1-star movie. They got points for making it and nothing else. Werewolf Bitches, I got a point for making the movie, really catchy theme song, and it tried to work, and it almost did to me. But yeah,
The one part in there Mel liked was the stealing the microwave. the cop, I mean, arguing about making their pizza bites and all that.
and they also did some. I think we agreed it was commando filmmaking. They didn't have the license at the time they were shooting. They just put on their werewolf masks, and just went out with their camera person and just interacted with random people in New York and in Times Square and filmed it, and whatever worked for them in the movie, they kept. I think that I think you was the one that came up with that idea, and I agree with it. I think that's what they did.
It's not a trauma production, but it's a trauma adjacent production. It's like if you have trauma is here, Werewolf Bitches from Outer Space was filmed in the alley behind the building. So
That would explain the lighting.
yeah. And they did have Janine Garofalo in it.
Yes. Well, that would be worth at least half a star just to see Janine.
Yeah.
I've seen enough of the movies, and my memory's more crowded than his because I've been around a little longer. I've watched as many or more. But there have been so many movies we have shown at different times in different places or have seen as part of Wild Eye Reactions that sometimes I get them confused and sometimes I forget them. And sometimes it's good that I forget a movie because it was bad enough that I don't want to watch it again, but not bad enough that I regret seeing it. Except for, I'm not going to beat it in the ground or acknowledge it anymore, that movie. The movie that shall not be named. But then when there was others, like, I went out and immediately said, I got to go buy this. I got to go find this. Mim's movies are like that. Partly
Space
because
Milkshake.
that was one of your favorites. I liked it, but yeah, George Takei, he was in it or just his
voice.
Yeah, his
Gary.
voice acting was very good in that.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh my. Yes.
Space Milkshake was good. The Oblivion double feature was.
Oblivion.
Yeah, and George just putting in any Star Trek reference he could force in was hilarious.
Yeah.
Now we've covered the past, so you want to touch on the Igors a little more, or
What did you want to talk about on the Igors?
what many later people failed to know is that there were two running bits that I remember immediately from the early episodes. The first is somewhere along the line, somebody thought it would be hilarious to use a dick joke in a family show, in that whenever Dr. Rick Edison showed up, Bob would say, "Hello, Dick."
Hello, Dick.
It's Rick.
I know what your name is.
Saying, funny the first time, funny for new audience members, and it's kind of funny for the returning fans, and it's something they can
It's a
look
returning
forward to.
gag.
It's a returning gag, it's a running gag.
However, I will say on this, we haven't done that lately because
He's a friend of me,
Yeah.
and
Rick Edison hasn't been a dick. So,
that you know of. Wait till you hear about what happened with the Kraken. And then the other one was, of course, and we had lots of people volunteered. They were actually lining up, volunteering to be an Igor, so they could be killed on stage.
mhm.
And we have tricked Shigors into running into traffic.
You had tricked Shigor into running into traffic.
It wasn't my idea. I ran with it, yes, but then there was the zombie rights group that was there, and found that a kitty she-goer was a fancy feast. There was the first Igor was brought back as a half cyborg,
Robo Igor.
Robo Igor, and was promptly killed off again.
Electrocuted by falling into the shark tank.
Yeah, he was still plugged in. It's funny that. One She-Gor didn't actually die that we know of. She's like, what's Schrodinger's cat. She's still off in space in the space capsule. We had not seen her body.
Well, of course, we also have another She-Gor who ran off with a certain other doctor.
Alonzi!
To be a companion.
Because it was more fun than hanging out with Dr. Bob and Dr. Edison.
Yeah. Less dangerous.
Yeah, that's true, especially the history of Igors at that point.
Yeah.
There was a Wigor.
Yep, the conjoined twin Igor.
We've just had a lot of different Igors and many, many different Igor deaths, and it was always fun doing that, but like many running gags, kind of ran its course. Although I wouldn't be averse to bringing it back and having Dr. Edison find that he has an itch that needs to be scratched.
Well, we'll have Igors back at the time when it's when we can use them. Right now in the storyline, we haven't been able to use them well. So rather than using them badly, it's like, okay, let's just not use them until we need them. So.
And conveniently, Dr. Edison has swung a little back and forth on the good guy, bad guy, competent, incompetent meter. It's basically, much like with Dr. Bob, what suits the story. And sometimes Dr. Edison is actually competent and a good foil to use because he helps defeat the enemy. Sometimes he's just Dr. Doofenshmirtz Incorporated. I do remember that Dr. Edison has saved the world 3 times.
Watching Danny Johnson, the live show that we did at the Gateway with it, which is the one that we're going to be having on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
It was the first appearance of Master Bob. Well, not the first, but the first one where he's talking to Dr. Bob and introducing himself, and they're trying to work together. And it's kind of funny it's where he introduces himself as Master Bob, and Dr. Bob's going, "Oh, you didn't get a doctorate then?" "Yes, I got a doctorate." Yeah, and so even then, at that point, Dr. Bob is irritating Master Bob and getting under his skin because finally Master Bob's like, "I'm wasting a lot of energy to talk to you." So back on the Master Bob, those storylines that we did there. How'd you feel about those? I mean, Master Bob being that darker take there.
I enjoyed them, and what was neat about it for me is, thinking back on it, we did a little dry run apparently because early on when the She-Gor was shot into space and lost, they were pre-taped segments, and Dr. Bob actually spoke to her while she was on the screen, and they did that by, obviously, pre-recording it and doing the conversation. And we developed a rather well-timed and that's authentic looking. It actually looked, many, many times, it looked like we were actually talking to the screen character and they were having a conversation with it. It did not look like we were talking to a recording. It looked like we were actually having a conversation. And I think I did that well, and then you did it well when doing the Master Bob. And it takes a lot of work to make that happen. It takes a lot of, I'll say it, acting ability. You have to actually act like you're talking to it up there and have a good, I don't want to say script because we've never used a script. We have a good conversation plan And it worked. Yours worked with Master Bob. It worked. Every one we've done has come off very well. I'll give you credit to you for that one because you went there and you made sure that it happened. I think mine was the most fun, especially when the first appearance of the Dr. Rick from the future sending a message back from time saying, "Hey, Earth got blown up. It's your guys' fault. You gotta save the world." That was one, by the way, for Dr. Rick saving the world. He sent back a video message and saved the world by alerting them to the danger of the Grotech. But when we first did that, there was me as Dr. Rick in the theater, me as Dr. Rick up there, and Dr. Bob, and we had a three-way conversation.
Don't forget, we also had Igor. We had a Critch's Igor. So
we had a four-way conversation.
Yeah.
And it came off without a hitch. And there were some really funny parts in it, including Dr. Rick from the future actually getting in on the dick joke, if I'm remembering right.
Probably.
I know who we are.
Yeah. Yes. You got to call your previous self a dick at that point, because at that point, Rick Edison was full on enemy mode and was trying to kill Dr. Bob.
You can't kill him. Why not?
Yeah. So.
And then he explained why.
Yep. And I think if we have Rick go evil again, what he's going to find is he's going to get another message from the future at some point going, dude, no, you need to work with Dr. Bob, not against him.
No, not more fixed points in time. Those are just so convenient. We can't kill him. He's a fixed point in time.
However, some of you now know, since our last...
Not sure everybody who got that joke.
For our... since our last newsletter and all that, we now have a little baby, Miss Guinevere, and we're already looking to find a little lab coat for her, because eventually she may be standing in for Dr. Bob. We haven't figured out exactly how that storyline will go, but...
He went to really great lengths to get his own mini-me. Really great lengths.
I thought it was fantastic lengths, but yeah. One more question for you then. Talk favorite movies and all that. What's been your favorite serial we've done?
I'm going to go with the obvious one for me. And I have to apologize because part of the job description as Dr. Rick Edison rarely got to see a lot of the serials. Dr. Rick was out shamelessly busking in front of the gateway, was out there talking up total strangers at conventions, was running around outside the Drexel with signs saying, "Support Luau, laboratory underlings and union workers." But it was the union for the lab workers, the Igors. Was doing that. So, with the exception of the wonderful and underrated Stingray Sam, I have rarely gotten to see the serials. So I will have to go with my favorite was Stingray Sam because A, it was the best, and B, it was the only one I ever really got to see all the way through.
Okay. That's fine. And Stingray Sam, I think, is one of the more enjoyable ones. Of course, he had a song every episode, so that didn't hurt.
Welcome to Mars.
Yeah, Fredward.
Yes, I actually found one of his earlier songs called Reno, and I have inflicted it on many people at work because it's an earworm.
Okay.
But yeah, there it is. There's the Stingray Sam, number one. Everything else tied for number two.
Right.
I'm not saying they were number two. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying.
Anything you want to say to the fans?
I appreciate all the people that come and watch the show. I appreciate everybody that tunes in and watches the streaming. And I appreciate our great fans from the Cleveland area, our friends from the Cleveland area, because one of my unknown goals that I had in my life was to be in a show, to play a character, help create a character, have the character cosplayed. He had his character cosplayed. Have fan fiction about it. I had to write it myself, but it still counts. And just, it was fun. I actually also have a mini-me that is a plush toy. So there you go. Because of the Dr. Bob show, M3 with DB, I have been in fan fiction, I've been cosplayed, and I have a toy made of me. Not a lot of people can say that. Mim can say that. Mim can say it. He can say it. The nurse can say it. Nurse Ferrante can say it.
Okay. So thank you guys. We'll talk to you next newsletter.